Welcome back to another episode of Focus Enter the Cloud. In this episode, Lloyd Gordon speaks to one of the leading technical architects in the Workday space, Simon Tuite. So, without delay, let's get into it.
Welcome to all of our viewers to this month's Into the Cloud podcast. I'm very, very excited to be joined by one of the most highly technical integration architects in the Workday ecosystem, Mr. Simon Tuite.
Hi, nice to be here.
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for the invite.
We've been trying to do this for a while, right?
Yeah.
And is it me that keeps moving, or is it you? I think it's you, isn't it?
Busy schedule.
Yeah.
I think we've been talking for a while. Even work-wise, we've probably been talking for 5-6 years, but different.
Yeah,
ways.
we've known each other for 6.5 years, I think it is.
Looked at different opportunities. I don't think we've landed a role just yet, or kind of came close a couple of times. My bad. I think we've known each other well, and I think over that time, it's always happy to see a call. I think from you. I think it's I think your perspective in the market, and even the way you discuss roles or engage with people, I think has always been memorable to me. It's been a bit of banter, a bit of the sales side, obviously. But it's always been enjoyable, and I think you remember different details about people, which is, it's always been nice to talk about different opportunities. Yeah. So great to be here.
Really
thanks
good.
For having me.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. You're welcome. Going on to how our kind of relationship, and we'll go back a little bit in your career afterwards. But how our relationship first started is I was highly recommended to you. As I was looking for an integration lead for one of my customers.
Okay.
And someone I respect and trust highly in the Workday ecosystem said to me, this is one of the best guys. And I hope no one's offended by me saying this, and I hope that you're not offended by me saying this, but I will say it because that's what Into the Cloud's all about, right? It's about being open and honest, and typically when I speak to, let's say, the technical background people, I've got some of my best friends are from a technical background, but it could be said that people who are highly technical in the code and all that sort of stuff, they can be quite difficult to build a relationship with, or like a close relationship with, sure. And they're certainly not what you would say from a salesy type background. Yeah. Would that be fair to say?
I think, I think there is maybe a stereotypical technical image of programmers, technical consultants, people who love technology. But I think nowadays there is variety. But I think to your point, I think that was something I recognized quite early on, that. Even back to my college days, fell in love with technology, loved programming, was up all night programming, coding, but at the same time was a people person. So I like working with people, collaborating with people, building relationships. So and again, felt that was a nice balance. And then as I went through from college into my career, I guess I started to pick up on this might be a bit of a not a unique trait, but something I was quite strong on, that I'm able to build a relationship with people, and I enjoy that kind of first and foremost. But then also really enjoy getting into the weeds of a technical problem solution.
Yeah, it was one of the first things. I don't know if we remember one of our first conversations. It might have been the third or fourth conversation actually, when I thought, is it safe to say this to Simon, right? Oh, and I remember saying to you, like, it's very. I was only on the phone to someone the other day, for example, a very highly technical data guy, and he actually said to me that I much prefer data to people. That's what he said. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we've all got our skill sets. But what I really liked about you and really enjoy about our conversations, and I know that's translated into your career at PwC and the other places that you've been, which we'll discuss, but is that you do have such a great relationship building characteristic, and you've got great personality, I can see, why you've touched on the sales element to what you do in your past as well. Yeah. I really did notice that about you when I first spoke to you.
Yeah, and I guess just to touch on something there, I think part of it is also a choice. I think it's people like the tech, people like the data, and actually they prefer to stay there.
Yeah.
So I don't think I think if people wanted to learn something or develop something or get exposure to a different area or sales, business relationships, they could, but I think it's a choice. Again, it's understanding strengths and weaknesses of anybody. So yeah, I enjoy that. I get a buzz out of it. I like working with teams. I like building relationships. I like talking about the techie side, but I like understanding business problems. I like talking about options. I like planning to an extent. Yeah, and I think I've noticed through my career, it's given me opportunities to lean into that more and open more doors in different ways. And I think I was quite conscious coming out of college. I wanted to get that exposure on the techie side, but I didn't want to be a sole developer. I wanted that broader consulting exposure to consult with people, clients, and just do the full holistic kind of role, I would say.
Yeah. So tell me, go back to let's say your pre-college days, your pre-university days.
Okay.
You knew that you was going to be a technical guy.
No.
Right. Okay.
No, absolutely not. So I think in school I always liked the logical subjects. So like loved maths and economics. I think those were two subjects that I really enjoyed because it was about understanding something. It was about you're given a topic and there's kind of reasoning behind something. So you can so because of X and Y and Z, then it that equals 1. Again, it wasn't in that way, but there was logic, and I much prefer those subjects as opposed to other subjects where you kind of have to learn off material to then recite in exams or learn off languages, etc. And again, just the way my brain was, I struggled to maybe pick up some of those areas as opposed to the kind of more logical things. So I think coming out of school, I knew that. I knew I was more logical, and again, thanks to the kind of teachers at the time, really. Yeah, got benefit and kind of enjoyed learning those areas. Then it came to kind of choosing, where to go in college, and you're going to career days, you're trying to guess, what about this, what about that? Probably recognised I wasn't going to be a bit of a sports star, so I think it's...
that was one of my questions. So was you decent at football or any of the other sports?
Younger I played... Gaelic football, so we have it's like an Irish version of football, and then rugby. Did other things along the way, but those are probably the kind of two prime sports. Really enjoyed it. But recognised wasn't necessarily gonna make a career out of that, even though always very passionate about sports, fitness, etc. So then it came to time to kind of pick a course, and you go on open days to colleges, etc. Kind of just using it as an opportunity just to see colleges. I'm not because as an 18-year-old, 17-year-old, you're not really clear on what you're trying to do in life. It was really the advice of my dad. He's in the IT industry. He was a program lead at the time, and kind of knew where my strengths were, and kind of thought, this might be a good mix of technical with some business. And again, he knew IT was a growing industry, so good opportunity to get in and kind of see where it goes.
Yeah. So almost fast forward to your first Workday role, and then but tell me the one before, what made you think maybe the Workday ecosystem's for me?
Yeah. So I was at a Big Four consultancy. In Ireland, so I was still in Dublin at the time. I had joined them from a wider tech space, so I came in as a .NET consultant, so kind of did more typical traditional database and kind of website development, and then got the opportunity, or got selected to join the Workday team. At the time, didn't know what Workday was, so jumped on kind of Google, what is Workday, did a bit of research. and it came across and as a real powerhouse in that ERP, particularly in the HR space. So I said, yeah, let's do it.
You're talking about a long time ago, though, right? Which year are we talking about?
We're talking 10 or 11 years.
Yeah. So we're talking about 2013, wasn't it?
2013, that kind of time.
So it was a year before I entered the Workday ecosystem.
Okay.
And it was early.
Yeah,
when I entered.
It was early.
Yeah.
And it was coming from the US, but again, in Europe, it still had that reputation of it was something different, and it had that high demand, high reputation. So I was happy to, cool, let's go for it.
Yeah.
Flew to London, did the training, came back, and they did the first implementation based in Dublin, which was it was great. I was buzzing to get involved. New technology, new customer, new team. At the time, it was a team that was actually somewhere based in Dublin and somewhere in the UK, so it was an opportunity to get exposure to that broader community, and then get hands-on with it with a client. Again, and then the kind of differences between the typical kind of .NET kind of web development versus ERP Workday. But yeah, loved it.
Yeah. So was it like did you feel like you was at home as soon as you went into Workday, or did it take you a few years to?
Yeah, I think it was very obvious going on, even through the training, speaking to clients. More and more comments about Workday just reinstated this is the premium tool. This is top of class. Very different to what had come before. Very strong user interface, and really that just again said yes, kind of in the right space, kind of keep going, let's see where it goes. And then met great people, so kind of working with different teams, different ambitions for growth alongside the Workday targeted growth within Europe. I think there was consultancy then saw that as well, and we're trying to ramp up teams, etc.
I remember clearly actually. 2015, 2016, 2017, ramping up a lot of the partners teams in the ecosystem, which was fun and hard. It was really hard.
Yeah.
Because the skill set wasn't, it wasn't readily available, right? So you had to really deep dive and go and look for these people, right? So and obviously that's how we were introduced.
Yes.
So fast forward a little bit to the first time you started to lead a technical program within the Workday ecosystem. So I'm more interested in how your typical integrations consultant, and then as soon as you made that shift from that to that next step, which lead you to where you are today.
Yeah, and I think there's 3 steps there. I think it's integration consultant, integration team lead, and then I would say technical team lead.
Yeah.
Do you want to focus on that first one?
I want to talk about the transition from consultant to team lead.
The team lead, okay.
A little bit, and how did that affect you?
Yeah.
And then to architect level.
So it happened on the program I actually initiated. So when I moved to London then just over 9 years ago, and on that program, that was actually when I made the shift. So I was consultant, advising, and at that time, you're really responsible for several integrations. So you own those integrations end to end. You lead the client through requirements gathering, kind of engaging with the vendor team or the technical teams, understanding the requirements, working with the design documents, etc. So it's very specific to your integrations. As you move into a team lead role, you have oversight and responsibility for all the integrations. There's a people management piece there as well, so you're now responsible for managing the team, structuring the team, who is good at what.
How did you find that?
I loved it. Again, back to who I am and back to what I was aware of. I like the techie side, but I like the people side. So that was another opportunity and maybe a door that was open because I enjoyed that and I liked that, and I kind of maybe naturally enjoyed working with people and helping people, etc. I enjoyed it. it makes the job more stressful. You've more headaches, you've more exposures to kind of different things to manage.
You lose your hair a little bit quicker.
Lose your hair.
I wasn't saying anything about yours. I can't talk about that at the moment. So
yeah, but it was great. And then there's I think it varies the role as well. I think you go from having techie conversations to having higher level techie conversations and people conversations and planning, and kind of also managing the relationship of you as at that time I was part of a consultancy with the client, and what's the roadmap and kind of where are our problems, how do we evolve, etc.
Yeah. So what was the first time you ever had to have a difficult conversation with another technical consultant because you was their team leader? And obviously being as good as what's available from a technical point of view, but then having this skill set which allows you to manage people and lead people. When was the first time you had to have a difficult conversation with someone and perhaps exited them from the project or the business, and how did that affect you as an individual?
Yeah. I think I'm quite an empathetic person, or it's quite easy for me to, or not quite easy, but I try to relate to someone that I'm kind of working with. So when you come up against a challenge like this, you do try and have awareness or acknowledge their side. Where are they coming from? And then when there is a challenge, for me, it's first to understand what's the issue. Is the issue capability? Is the issue kind of expecting too much of someone too soon? Is the issue motivation? Is the issue something outside of that person? So trying to really go in just with a broad perspective. So actually at that first client, so it was a aerospace client, global client. I made the transition from integration consultant into the team lead role. I was quite stretched. I was pushing myself. I was ambitious. I was trying to take everything on and doing okay. And then bit of a conflict with someone on the team. And it was kind of around work-life balance. Actually, it was around kind of we traveled a lot, so we had to travel 4 or 5 days a week, and there was expectations as to kind of how we presented ourselves to the client. So different times you had to be at the office, leave the office, deliverables, etc. And again, that was part of what was being delivered at this ambitious level to do the best for the client. And one of the team members, I guess, was starting to kind of reflect or question on, are they getting what they want out of their career and the time they have to commit to this? Is it what they want? So on a project, I'm like, not sure how much of this I need to be managing, because I guess my understanding is we're here to do a job. You're in an ambitious kind of environment. Again, we want to appreciate the person, and if there's challenges or workload that I can move away from you, happy to do that, and happy to. Do we need to put you on some training? Do we need to pair you up with someone that maybe is more experienced? And really, I think it came down to that motivation factor. I don't think they had that same interest, and that started to then show itself more and more. At the time, again, we tried different things. I tried to pair them up with a more senior person, so again they weren't getting exposed in ways that they weren't comfortable with.
Are we talking about a junior person here, or are we talking about an experienced integration consultant?
It was probably more junior.
Right.
More junior. And I think more junior, and again maybe that was the issue, is that we may have had a mismatch of expertise. Again, I think it would still go down to the motivational piece. I think it wasn't really fit for them. We tried various things. I think in the end they actually decided to kind of move on. So fine.
Yeah, the consulting game is hard, right? It's especially when we're talking about consulting back in the day. It makes us sound like we're both particularly senior, which of course I'm not. But I know consulting recruiting for consulting partners, throughout my career, the biggest thing about joining a consulting partner back in the day, let's say, was the amount of travel, and it became before COVID, it became more and more of a topic, and the more attractive, let's say, consulting partners were the ones that had that flexibility to work from home. They didn't require you to be on customer site because you could live down the south, and the project is one up north, which meant that you were Monday to Friday up north. Yeah. So people generally in 2016, 2017, they could become more aware of that. Do you think that was a factor? And how did it affect you as well?
I think, I think comparing life, even if we compare that to now, I think it's very different. I think there is flexibility. I think you only know that now looking back, how different it is. I think I've been quite lucky. I haven't had a high level of expectation of travel every week, probably except for one client.
Throughout your...
it wasn't week in, week out. It was travel maybe for the first 6 months, couple of days a week as needed, build the relationships, make sure we kind of have things on track, and then come and go as needed. Yeah. There was one client in particular where it was an expectation that the whole team would be there all the time. And that actually was the project that I did when I first moved to London. So at the time it was quite a challenge. So moving to London, didn't really know anybody. Then traveling for a client.
I was going to say something funny, you could say there. I was going to say not speaking the local language.
Not speaking the local language. That took time. Had to try and slow things down.
I couldn't help that.
So kind of had and then going home every so often to connect with friends, family, etc.
Yeah.
So I found that just busy life, no real downtime. But I loved it. It was part of why I came to London. It was one of the attractions of London.
It's the hustle and bustle.
Yeah, it was London is the kind of ecosystem of Europe really at the time from kind of how I pictured it.
Yeah.
This is where the big, again, there's consultancies everywhere and they have presence in different countries, but the scale was just that much bigger. And it was opportunities then to work the biggest clients, the biggest customers, the biggest maybe opportunities and roles. But then with that comes travel, higher expectations maybe.
Higher expectations, stress, of course.
Yeah.
Because everyone gets stressed. I know no one ever wants to talk about stress when you've got like a high pressure job or whatever, but ultimately everyone gets stressed.
Yeah.
And throughout my my interviews in the cloud, I found that even people that you kind of look at and that you do not think. Sometimes I thought to myself, how does this person even function, right? Because I'm not going to say I struggle with my role, right? But there are times when I'm like, the emails, I just want to go for lunch. I come back from lunch and I've got 100 emails, and then I think to myself, but program directors, right? And these program directors, they're managing, 5-6 projects at the same time. They've got all these different reports, and they're all sending emails upon my emails because they're asking me for resources. So they've got my emails coming into them as well. How did they manage all of that stuff? Because they don't look stressed, so why should I feel it? And, I don't know what that's called, but it is something I think about a lot, which you can hear in my mindset moments, which I know you follow as well, don't you? Yeah. So, did you just say that because you came here today?
No. I think firstly on the mindset moments, I think it's refreshing. There's been days you'd jump on LinkedIn, or you'd be on LinkedIn and be looking at different updates, or you get notified and you jump on LinkedIn, and you scroll down and you'd see a post by yourself, and it's either a mindset moment, which for me I think it's I think it's quite powerful to be showing the real person. So kind of from the time I know you, I knew very big into kind of fitness, working out, being up like pretty crazy early in the morning to do that before you get into work, but even then to get more snippets of challenges you face, and then people can relate. Oh, hey, I'm having a bad day. Well, he's having a bad day, but we kind of move forward.
Yeah.
So that's quite helpful. The other one actually, which is really interesting, is your motivational videos.
Yeah.
I think now I don't watch all of them, but
Yes,
some of
you
them,
do. Come on.
some of them,
Yes,
some
you
of
do.
them again, very very powerful. And again, some of them are sports driven, so it's like famous sports players pushing themselves, committed, working out. Which again we're not. We train on the side, etc. But I think there's a mindset you can relate to in that, and there's motivation. There's kind of a buzz that I would get from watching something like that. So yeah, I think both of those kind of mediums are kind of expressions that you put out there. Are beneficial.
It's part of the reason why I did it. You know, like this is not about me, but just for anyone who's interested in mindset moments, we will put a link on the bottom of the link to this podcast. So anyone who wants to follow mindset moments, plug. Yeah. But the reason why I did mindset moments, do you want to know why?
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
So there was years and years and years where I was purely just watching motivational videos, right? And this is going to sound really really sad, you could probably say, I don't know, but it's the truth, so I'm going to say it. I used to wake up at like 4 o'clock, and I still do. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and the first thing I would do is go and make myself a coffee, and then come back and sit at my desk. And what I'd be blasting into my head was the stuff that I earlier on, say 2016 onwards, was sharing every single day. And the mistake that I was making was I was putting 10-minute videos on my social channels and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of the people that used to listen to those videos, and there's a lot of people, they just, after a while, I guess they probably wanted to say, Lloyd, we're just a bit bored of this. We want to know you, right? That's what they actually said.
Okay, interesting.
we know what you listen to and how it works for you, but actually, no, they didn't know how it worked for me. But they kind of said, we want to know you. So why don't you do one? And I can't see myself going, on there, and so I thought to myself, how can I help people? Because, and that's why I do it, because I think you might be having a really crap day one day, and you go onto LinkedIn or you go onto another social channel, and someone talks about something, or you listen to something in a video, and it really resonates and relates to your situation at that particular time. And what I found most comforting, I think would be the best word, about this stuff is I feel like I work really hard. You know what I mean? Which I do, right? As everyone else does. And sometimes you can question yourself of whether it's really worth doing that. Yeah? And in the stuff that I've listened to, it's really about people who have also done that, and you kind of see these people maybe on a pedestal, in sports or in business or in whatever else. Yeah. Like, for example, Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk, how did he get to where he is? He worked his ass off to get there. He done between 80 and 100 hours. And physically hearing him say that, you go, so it's not that hard to get there. All I've got to do is make some sacrifices here. Which is not nice when you're doing it, because you're tired and you're not going out with your friends, and maybe if you're married or you've got a girlfriend or whatever, you're not seeing those people. And for me, listening to that was quite comforting. So when I share that on the mindset moments, I know people relate to it. I know they do. Now, all right.
But I think part of that is also the why. So why is he like that? What is pushing people, and what is pushing him? And anybody. I think it was him. I watched the show about him. I think had some hardships, maybe growing up in life. I think got bullied in school, family difficulties, and I think it's maybe not. I'm not saying every successful person has come from hardship, but I think there is something about why someone is that way. and then what they want. Because even back to what you said, I think it's for each person to reflect on what's important to them in life, what are their values in life, and then okay, well, if my top priority is to be CEO, CTO, entrepreneur, whatever, that takes commitment, that takes discipline, and then it's about cutting other things and for that goal. But I think it's also about balance as well in that, because if you go too extreme to that, back to what you said about stress, burnout, and I think it's around finding that right balance, and I think balance is very individual. I think for one person it's one thing, and for someone else it can be something else, and that's fine. Everyone's different, but I think it is about having a bit of everything, because if you just have that one thing, I don't think you get to the finish line. I think, or maybe you do, but I think Elon Musk probably has his own side loves, or I think he loves cars or something else. So how do you get out of Tesla and SpaceX and the rest and switch off as well and just have a hobby? Again, I think he loves the detail, etc. Again, I don't know the guy, but
that's his hobby.
Yeah, but then how do you then switch off as well and have that balance? And I think he has kids and other stuff as well.
Well, now he does.
Yeah.
But when he started, he didn't. Right,
in the grind, it's the grind.
Grind is the grind. You mentioned balance there, right? And it's something that I did share a video a little while ago about trying to find the balance and not really having a balance, right? And it's so hard to find a balance. It depends what you want. Yes. So if you want to, it's not about really what you want to have. Actually, it's about what you want to be, which brings the stuff that you want to have with it, right? True. And I've just found that you can't really have a balance. You know what I mean? That's the truth. Not in the early days of my with Focus, there was no balance. Do you know what I mean? And funny enough, Elon Musk said something like, he's a very analytical bloke, right? He's a technical guy, and he said, when you start a business, you have two choices. You can achieve in half the time what a company, the same entrepreneur, if the same entrepreneur is working 50 hours a week and you work 100 hours a week, you're going to achieve double what they will in the same period of time. And it was as simple as that.
But even to mix it up again, to move away from Elon, even Kobe Bryant said something very similar. Yeah. He's done interviews where he said things like basically trying to train 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And that was his mindset that he did from the outset. And almost where then when it gets to the summer, he would say, yeah, people might be doing stuff in the summer, but I'm doing 3-a-day sessions, so it doesn't matter what you do in that summer, you're never going to catch me.
Yeah.
So it's I don't play basketball. I'm kind of a basketball fan, maybe not.
I can see you dunking.
Need to get a bit higher. But again, you can pull those gems or those learnings or those motivations or just insights from people, just like
I have. Like I have.
But then also like people pull from you.
Yeah. And that's the idea. It's to kind of translate those learnings and those things that have helped me into others, which I know need to hear it. They may not need to hear every single thing that's said on that particular episode or whatever, but I know that there's people who've, when I stopped doing it just before Christmas, the amount of calls I had, literally, I didn't think it was that. I knew it was successful because it's got lots of views and lots of comments and lots of stuff like that, but I didn't know how much it helped. I really didn't. And there was people who called me and emailed me and said, why have you stopped this? Why have you, they really cared. So I was being like, I knew I was going to start again, but I thought, I've got to start this again because it's not helping those people. So here's a question for you. When have you been severely challenged? Because I've never seen, whenever I've spoken to you, I've never come off the phone to you or when we've met or whatever and come away from that conversation feeling, he sounds really stressed. But I know there is times. There's got to be. And whether you want to be open and honest, I think the viewers will want to hear this. So I know there's been times when you've been sitting there with your head in your hands. So talk to me about when that's been, why it was, and what you did to overcome it.
I think for me, when it became very obvious that I probably don't have balance, and where maybe I don't have awareness of where I'm stressed and how I manage stress, was when I started to, I think, add more things into my life. So moved to the UK and really predominantly was so very focused in my career, happy to do so, loved it, had some fitness and everything else, and then kind of the social piece and traveling back home, etc. But that was kind of it. I think then got engaged, got married, and then kind of about to have a kid. And these things are also very valuable to me as a person. So it kind of forced me to reflect on how am I allocating time in my day, in my week, in my life. And that caused a bit of stress. That challenge to reflect on how much time am I giving my career and how do I balance career with family life was a nice, not nice at the time. It was difficult, but I think that was a real kind of wake up to say, number one, do I have balance? And I probably didn't. Number two,
was this pre or after consulting?
it was actually when I went out as an independent contractor as well. So again, additional. So I pushed myself to now be an independent consultant to clients. So again, out on my own a bit. Have a vulnerability of I am now 100% responsible for making sales, bringing in money for my family, well, me as a person first of all, but now I'm married, so I have a family I have to look after and support.
Yeah.
And so it was at that time, yes, and then it was also COVID hit, and I think that made everyone maybe just
I don't remember.
everyone just kind of take stock on things and life and everything else. And then I was becoming a dad, and again feeling that responsibility, and it was something that meant a lot to me as a person, and I kind of always looked forward to that moment in life. But it's the stress of my role and making sure that I can continue to do this, and how am I making sure income is coming in and I'm saving and I'm investing and everything else. But then also, how do I make time in my day for what's important to me? And then even living with my wife, I think that was a great learning as well, because I think you living on your own and living with people, etc., you're in your own routine and you don't really know maybe what's unusual or what's maybe more unusual. But I think living with someone, my wife definitely kind of pointed out, you don't really switch off much, or kind of what do you do to relax, or what do you do that's like fun. Again, you maybe go to the gym or you go home to see friends, etc. But I think she has always been a nice balance to try and say, okay, let's go do something fun, or okay, let's switch off now and let's kind of get out of the house. So again, back to balance. But to your point, not something I probably have had, what kind of was told to try and have, but took me a while maybe to implement it.
Yeah, I think I know you're an independent contractor, but you're how do I put this? You're as close to an entrepreneur without being an entrepreneur, but you could say that you are an entrepreneur because you're a contractor, right? And the difficulty is, I think, with that situation is your wife, bless her, probably doesn't think the same. So when people say to you, you need to have a balance, well, it's because they don't think the same as you. And it's nice for people to have a balance, but actually your wants, needs and desires are not channeled towards having a balance right now. Obviously that changes over time, of course, and I think since you had a child, that's probably has changed, but that probably would have been one of your biggest mind shift challenges. But
I also think back to your stress point. I think for me, I started noticing that stress more. I think that's what then forced me to think about balance. So up to that point, it was go, ambition, drive, kind of always pushing. Again, maybe should have been more patient at different times in hindsight. But I think, as you said, when you encounter that stress or that, I think for me it kind of forced me to just reflect on, well, am I doing too much, or how do I rejig things, or how do I work more efficiently, and then maybe I'm too far out of balance. And I've been doing that for too long.
Maybe. How bad did it get? at its absolute worst. So I'm talking stress kind of creeps up on you. And how bad did it get for you?
I think I was still able to operate. I was still working full time, enjoying my job. If you had called me, I still would have been able to have a bit of banter, etc. I think it was just noticing. I don't feel I have time to put into what I want to put into, and reflecting on. Am I giving what I want to my marriage? Am I present enough? Or actually, again, through COVID, you finish work at 6 and you turn around and then sit on the couch, and that's you leaving your office, and you're like, really, you're still kind of thinking about things.
Yeah.
And again, that's not fair to the marriage, and to, again, something that was important to me.
Yeah.
So I think that was what kind of resonated, and I think it was more examples of that. And then you have a kid, and again, being a contractor, you don't have that paid time off, so you're taking that time to be with your child, and then you have to go back to work. And again, there's a clear decision that you have to make on, well, I'm going to miss the first time that she walks, possibly, but you're doing that for the betterment of your career ambitions, providing for the family, etc. But again, it's the balance. So I think it was around that time. I think it was noticing, where am I spending time? What am I missing out on? And then all my family's back home in Dublin. How do I kind of respect those relationships? How do I go home and see my parents? Kind of be there for them, because I'm in a different country, brother, sister, etc., close friends. Because I am ambitious. I have been ambitious, but for me, those things also matter to me.
I can relate to that 100%.
Now, you have three kids, 2 kids?
5.
5 kids. Wow.
Yeah, 5.
5 kids and still up at 5 a.m. to work out. Nice.
A little bit earlier than that.
Nice. 4 a.m.
Yeah. But the way I think about it, right, is I think to myself, and this is a stupid way of thinking about it, right? I'm thinking I would love to get up at 6 or 7. Let's say a normal time. People say it's a normal time to get up, right? But then I think to myself, but I want to go and see my son's football. Yes. I want to go and be able to, spend time with my daughters and things like this, right? So I don't think to myself, okay, well, I need to make that time, but I can still get up at a normal time.
Yes.
I think to myself, I know what I'll do. I'll get up 4 hours earlier. Yeah. And then I can spend 4 hours working, or going to the gym in that time, which means I don't have to spend 4 hours in that time,
missing
which will
else.
save me 4 hours. Yeah. And therefore, when you if you imagine 3 hours per day is 15 hours a week, I do Saturdays and Sundays as well. I don't work the full day on Saturdays and Sundays, but I'm still up at that time. And I still work in the morning. But you can imagine like how much more work you've got done
massively.
Outside of your commitments. Yeah. And that way I've been able to, and this is only recently, right?
But
from a conversation.
But then when do you sleep?
Yeah, that's a whole nother ball game.
Because even more, and again, it's trending a lot. You see online lots more about life. But again, it's very successful people. Then there's all this piece now of balance. Again, I keep saying balance, but it's an awareness of health. Kind of health is wealth. Obviously, it hasn't affected you sacrificing the sleep to still kind of achieve multiple business kind of brands and then 5 kids and your fitness and everything else. So clearly you're able to keep going.
No, it has.
Keep going. Okay.
No, it has. Yeah. You would you'd be, my the early days of Focus meant that I didn't see my kids grow up, right? And is that something that I I regret hugely? Absolutely. Is it something that I would do again tomorrow to know what we've built today? Yes. And that's horrible to say that, because you kind of look at your family and you look at your children and your relationship with your wife and stuff like that, and nothing's more important to me than that, as it probably isn't for you, right? Yeah. But like you said, you're doing it for them, so you're almost putting yourself on the line to give them a better life. And that's the realization that I had. So I kind of, my feelings in that don't matter, is how I.
And it's for yourself as well, because you have that ambition in you to be the CEO and everything that you wanted.
Well, I'd rather not be.
No, but you wanted to achieve it though. Because it's both, and I think it's and it's then trying to have family, kids that understand that and appreciate that. And again, mine's 2.5, so not yet, but for me, my wife, so for her to know that, yeah, I'm making these sacrifices, or I'm choosing to do this because probably number one, I have something in me that's saying, kind of saying, why not? Like, why not become CEO, CTO, partner someday? Like, and let's keep pushing. I'm continuously trying to grow and take on new things and try new things and push myself. But then secondly is I'm also doing it for our life, to be able to enjoy life. But again, it's about not want to go to the extreme though either. So again, if you could cut back everything in life and be putting everything into your career, and would you progress further? Again, like we said at the start, there's a need to do that. I think, and then it's around trying to find time to maybe transition and still be career is a priority. You have to commit. You have to work weekends, sometimes evenings, etc. And you bring work home with you. But then I think it's around trying to maybe bring some back the other way. And again, maybe it flows. Maybe there's downtime. So you go through a period of trying to deliver a program. You're traveling quite a lot. It's quite stressful coming up to go live, etc.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, it's okay. Let's maybe take some time out between the next program, go on holidays, do something with the family, etc.
Which is tough for a permanent member of staff, right? But
yes.
it's achievable for a contractor,
yes.
because you choose when you work, right? You know, within reason.
Within reason.
Within reason, right?
Because
if a
you
project,
can't turn it back on again.
yeah, if there's a 4 to 6 week
yes.
gap in between contracts, you would probably choose to have that, and then you could go on holiday. You can do whatever you want with the family and stuff like that.
If you had a guaranteed role, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're permanent, then you can't do that, because you might be put on another project.
Yeah.
So you really don't have that choice. So I get it. Yeah. This podcast has taken a bit of a turn into that, and I'm glad it did. I'm fascinated by this.
Okay.
You know, and the more and more I learn about this, the more and more I realise that actually everyone's the same. Everyone has the same issues. Some people have chosen that. Do you know what? My balance is this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And their career is secondary to their balance, and absolutely fine with that. As long as they're doing what, I'm talking about people here.
Yeah.
Right? So if their work-life balance is more towards that side, as long as they're doing their job.
And once they're happy,
I don't mind.
if they're happy with that, perfect.
Yeah. And happiness.
Yeah.
But then you get some people on the other side.
Yeah.
And very rarely can you find someone who's right down the middle.
No.
I think I've never seen someone that's right down the middle.
Yeah.
Either that or that.
Yeah.
Or there's certainly a lean. But we can only desire to be that way, right? Because even if you are like 100% work focused and career focused, I don't think that if you quizzed any of those people, would you really like to have that balance? If someone asked me that, I do. Of course I do. I'd love to have a balance.
But would you want to be on the other side?
No.
No, I wouldn't either. And
No.
I've done self-reflection about that, and I've said, will I can dial back things? Will I maybe go for a smaller project or a smaller role, or maybe stop kind of trying to push to the next level? And I think, again, my wife kind of being that good kind of bounce back on different things. She kind of said, well, that's kind of who you are.
Yeah.
So if you didn't do it there, you'd just be doing it about something else.
Something else.
So
You come up with something else, and you'd put yourself in something else. It's it's funny, isn't it? Yeah, but I think if I was that way focused, I would die, right?
Yeah.
I need that in my life, and I don't know why I need that. And 9 times out of 10, when you ask people, well, why do you need that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's obviously something in the past. That something's driving you.
It always is.
Yeah.
It always is.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know how deep you want to get on that, but I
Go for it.
No, but
I'm
no,
all about
I think,
deepness.
yeah, so I think I probably have. I've had a point to prove maybe through my life. I think it's trying to push myself, trying to take on new things, and I think also if we go back when I kind of realized what I liked and what I was good at, I was like, okay, here we go. In my head, I was like going to New York, like doing living the US dream, and like what you see on TV, etc. Like I was up for it. I was like, let's go, let's push. And I think you're proving it to yourself. I think you're challenging yourself, and you almost have an inner hunger that even if you get to the next level, you're kind of not satisfied. And I don't know if that's the nicest trait to have, because then when did it stop?
It doesn't.
But I think what's important there is trying to remind yourself to enjoy the process, because if you're always looking for the next thing, and my mom always says this, you're never going to be happy. You're always going to be, because what's driving you is partly not the unhappiness, but you're trying to chase happiness. You're trying to chase fulfillment. So I think, yeah, she'd always remind me at different stages, like, yeah, congrats, you got a promotion, congrats, you got a new job, like, just pause, just like turn everything off for a minute and just say, congrats, like this is you've done something, like 2 years ago you wanted to be here, you're here, enjoy that moment.
Yeah.
Again, what's the voice in the head would say, okay, now let's go for the next one, and that's okay. But I think it's, and like you said, it might never stop. But I think if you don't enjoy the moment and enjoy the stages, what was it all for? Like, and then you're never gonna, and then you'll never be happy. And I think that's a shame if you can't have that through your career or your life, because you're always looking for the next thing. I think it's a pity.
Yeah, but if you're honest with yourself, you've never been happy with where you've been, have you? Because I was asked, you know, in the lead up to where the Focus Cloud group got pre-cognitive, right? We'd done amazing. We were done amazing in a really short space of time, and people always said to me, "Oh, you've done so well." You're like, "Yeah, I've got great people around me, right?
Yeah.
Got great people around me. Couldn't do it myself, but I know personally what that's taken out of me to get there."
Yeah.
And then we did the acquisition of Cognitive, so I've got more great people around me, right? And do you know what? On the day I signed those forms, and I thought pre this, if I can just get this business to X amount of turnover and X amount of profit, I'm going to be so happy. Do you know what I mean? Do you know, the day I signed those forms, it was probably the most
empty.
Yeah, it was probably the emptiest I've ever been in business. And there was no celebration, there was no nothing. The following day it was just like, let's get on with this, let's do this. That's a shame. And now it's, well, yeah, maybe it is. But that's the truth. And I think if you're wired like that, that's a sad thing about the way that people like that are wired, and unfortunately I am one of those, because we just never celebrate your wins, right?
But
and you always think about your losses as well, don't you think that?
Biggest critic, yeah. But I don't think you're stuck that way. So I think it's a trait that I have, you have, people have, and I think it's about a bit of self-discovery, a bit of understanding. Okay, well, if that didn't make me happy, am I chasing the right thing? Is there actually, if I reflect on my own values or kind of who I am and what I want, is there something else that actually I would get more satisfaction from?
Yeah.
Or just having someone beside you that says, okay, I'm going to remind you when we get to this, I'm going to force you to stop, get a cake in, get a party in, and force you to be present and be in the moment of, we've been working 4 or 5 years to get to this stage, we're here. Just force you to stop. Because I think it's too easy just to, okay, we did it, and then there's 50 people trying to grab you in that moment, and you're just going to go for it. Whereas if you don't force yourself to stop and say, this is it, that's not going to happen. But then, so how about all the kids you've had? So like when they were born, is that happiness? Is that joy? Is it maybe we don't want to get that personal into family stuff. But
I don't mind. This is in the cloud. We talk about personal stuff here, right? We don't talk about technical cloud stuff.
But for me, two of the big things for me is career achievements, and then life achievements. So marriage, and then having a family. For me, but again, it's very personal. So it's what does each person have for them, and when you hit those milestones, what did it feel like?
For me, they were personal milestones.
Yeah.
Right, which my personal milestones are separate from my career milestones. Absolutely. My career milestones take over my personal milestones, if that makes sense. Yeah. They're not as important, but they are as critical to my mindset. Yeah. So was I happy when I got married? Yeah, absolutely. I got married. Was I happy when I had my first child? You know, each of my children. Yeah, I was over the moon. Like, brought another child in. Yeah. You know. But they're the times when you don't really think about career.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? You're just focused on that. And the lion's share of my time now, unfortunately, is still taken up with this company and where we're trying to grow it. But the one thing I have tried to learn from this, and perhaps you could as well, right? This is what I do. I'm like Mr. Wisdom, right? Is when you go on holiday. Yeah. For me, for years and years and years, I just used to work on holiday.
Yeah.
Right. I'd bring the laptop, open the laptop. I'd be on phone. I'd do everything, but just in a different country. Yeah. Now, what I try to do is I try to convince myself that I've earned that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all the milestones in your career and your company life and stuff like that. When you go on holiday, you've earned that time. So you've earned that time with your wife, you've earned that time with your children, so therefore the phone is switched off. Yeah. You know, it's really hard to do, right? But that's what kind of saved me over Christmas, if I'm honest. Because it was in a bad way towards the end of last year. I was just sick of everything. Do you know what I mean? You know, 8 years of constant, and it came to a head, and we went away, and luckily, thank God, I went to a place where it didn't really have a lot of reception, so I didn't have a choice. I didn't switch my phone off, but I didn't have reception, you know? And therefore, that gave me that time away to then come back after that break and go, I'm proper up for this now, do you know? So I'm going to learn from that.
But even those breaks, you break, you rest, rejuvenate, and then you come back with different insights, a whole new hunger. So there is benefits from having that reflection, time, downtime, etc. to come back.
Yeah, 100%. The problem with me is I've never had those breaks. I've never given myself those breaks fully to switch off. It's always been half switched off and then come back, and then you wonder why it breaks.
But then, like week to week, day to day, is gym a break for you? Is your walks on the beach when you're not videoing, is that a break for you? Like, do you?
I don't go to the gym. The truth is, I've never told anyone this, right? I don't go to the gym to get muscles. I don't go to the gym to get bigger or anything or fitter. I go to the gym because I have to go to the gym.
Yeah, clear the head.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nothing to do with how it makes you look or anything like that. I don't care. I have to go to the gym, and if I don't go to the gym, then that starts reflecting in all of the other places in my life. And you just no use to anyone. So I have to go.
I think that mindset is something. So have you brought that into how you run your business? So do you have because I think what's interesting now in businesses is have a great team, have great people, great ambition, trying to be the best, do the best, etc. But also aware of people are people. So how do we give space and how do we support people with? Okay, we have people who are high achievers, highly stressed. They need to exercise. So let's get a gym here, and everyone can go to the gym if they want to in the morning. Or how do we give people time for yoga, meditation, other things in life that, again, they need to give to have that that mental break, mental clarity to then be the best at what they do. So you recognize in yourself you need that. I think it's very powerful to see when businesses have that in their ethos.
Yeah.
Is that something that you brought into the company, or how you?
Yes, I think it's something that's grown in the ethos. So, for example, we do 2 days a week. And the guys get total flexible working on hybrid working, right? So that means they can go to the gym.
Yeah.
You know, I don't go to the gym on Tuesdays and Thursdays when I'm in London because I live 2 hours away, and I don't want to get into the gym that early and be stressed about time. So that's another thing that I've kind of learned through my career. Which, you know, no doubt you've experienced that. Yes. You know, when you were just rushing for no reason.
And it's just not worth it.
I'm like, I'm not doing it.
Or do something at home. Yeah. Like just to empty your head and then go.
Yeah. So the guys who work here, they have 3 days at home and 2 days in the office. Okay. So that gives them that flexibility. And the wellness is something that we push as a business. We have we actually have someone who works at Workday who comes in occasionally and gives like yoga sessions and stuff like that. Nice. Yeah, good. So it's really cool. We push it as a business. Nice. You know. Good. Let's talk about. I guess we should talk about Workday. So. Tell me about the hardest project you've ever been on, and why. I mean, I know we're talking about like wellness and balance, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about the hardest project where, you know, if you look back at your career, you could look back and go, that almost broke me. It broke me, or it did break me, but no one knew about it.
I think to give a hardest project, I think that there's probably two examples. So, first one was aerospace client had to travel quite a lot. So again, that commitment takes a lot of freedom away from you kind of personally, because you're on the road, you're coming back, you're trying to wash, iron, get clothes ready, get your home ready, and then go again. But again, it's very exciting. You're on the road, you're eating out in restaurants, etc. You're kind of away with a team, face to face with the client. So there's kind of pros and cons, but it is very demanding. I think in this particular project, there was various challenges that we had faced around just different delays, different challenges with changes in scope, and again, I was changing role on the project as well, which kind of added to my own workload stress. But again, back to balance. Me and a colleague of mine would kind of every morning get up and go to the gym. You'd be getting up at like 5:30 to go, because again, it was maybe not for the mental clarity. Again, we were a bit younger. It was more just to kind of be fit, stay fit, and it was regardless of what time you went to bed at. So it was just you do it. It was part of it. It kind of had to be done because you were away for 4 or 5 days of the week. And if you didn't do it, if you didn't find a way to squeeze it in the mornings, it didn't happen. So again, very challenging project, working longer hours, high demand, stress through the day, but still wanted to prioritize. Let's have something here as well as on the personal side. I think if we step into program challenges or delivery challenges, I think for me it was a global media company, like huge, had grown over like decades, and I came in and at the start of the program conducted analysis of current system landscapes. So what systems does the client currently have across all of their countries, and then also across all of their entities in those countries. And they're all very different. So straight away, the scale just goes through the roof. Again, Workday, or you're bringing in an ERP, that's still the same. It's still one ERP, but from a technical complexity, that's very complex now. You've lots of things to consider, lots of people to engage, and really stresses. Let's understand what the way of the world is now before we jump into let's just implement the new ERP. So in that, we brought on board maybe 6 or 7 technical BAs, and then we conducted interviews with stakeholders across all of those countries, all of those different entities. I think there was about 80. Asked them questions around what systems do you have today, what functionality and modules do you have in each one of those systems. Then came back and then went away, kind of created just kind of documentation around drawing a visual representation of those systems per entity, per country, and then describing what happens today at a high level as the process overlays across those systems. So we have a HR system today, we have an onboarding system, we have a recruitment system, a payroll system. Okay, great. How do the process and data flow through those systems? And let's understand that. And then with that, you can then scope what is the goal of this transformation for these entities? Which of these modules or capabilities are moving to Workday or whatever other ERP that we're doing? Which are staying in the existing systems? Therefore, what systems are decommissioning targets? So we need to keep that in mind to make sure that we are decommissioning old systems to save costs, etc. And we're doing that in the right way to
in a phased approach.
Yeah, and to store data so we can refer back. And of the systems that remain, they are your integration requirements.
Yeah.
And not everything is an integration. Some things might be manual, but they are your data flow requirements. This is what your new ERP needs to talk to. And I think the sheer number of those was a challenge. And then I think, and again, it was a challenge trying to get engagement of who are the people that understand who those systems are, trying to chase and following different people, different calls, kind of going through the same thing. But I don't think the challenges went away. I think it continued. So then we get into scoping out what are we going to try and do, what are we going to try and deliver, getting people to agree what's going to get an integration versus what's going to be manual, and everyone has different opinions on that. And how do you understand the business value for where you choose where to invest your time? So again, bring it back to program direction. What is the business case? What was signed off? What was the real stakeholder goal at the start? And how do we stick with that? And then how do we have those directions and objectives and guidance to say, guys, this is what's in scope for now. This can be reviewed at a future point in time.
Yeah, but it went live, right? I think I know it. I think I know which one you're talking about, and it's obviously a phased approach. Right?
Phased approach.
Yeah.
So it was for me. It was, and again, enjoyable project.
Yeah.
Stressful, complexities, challenging, but enjoyable. You're working with great people. You're learning a new business. You're learning how their kind of ways of working. You're partnering with different enterprise architects and finance and payroll and HR people.
That so process, that experience is vital.
Yeah,
isn't it? You know, being on large projects like that, and obviously smaller projects and complex projects. And funny enough, I refer back to a number of our conversations. You know, you just want a very interesting project. Yeah. Everyone wants interesting projects. You know, the more complex, the better. Yeah. That's what we are as. Not me, but that's what we are as technical people. We want that really that complex project that's going to push us as individuals.
And that adds value to the business. I think that's number one. What excites me is working with businesses that are taking on or are interested in the latest technology to find and add value for business.
Yeah.
And then it's complex problems. Let's work through them. I'm not saying I'm gonna know answers to it, but that's what interests you, partnering with very skilled, ambitious, smart people, being challenged by each other, which is healthy. But then working together to really add that value to the business and then solve complex problems.
Yeah. So where do you think technology is going to go, right? Technology is even the last, 10 years, it's like so advanced now, right? Workday's talking about AI, machine learning, all these advanced things that are now in the product. They were always there, but they're more current now. So where do you think technology is going to go? Where would you like it to go as well?
I think over the last 10 years, technology is telling us that it is endless. It can do anything. It can do everything. It can grow boundlessly. Even in the stock market, the Magnificent Seven and the run they've done for the last 10 years. However, I get a part of me, again, I'm a techie by heart, part of me kind of questions, is what happened in the history going to repeat itself, or will something change? So I think that's in my mind from a broader tech perspective. But I think if I compare now to when I kind of started my career, I think technology is much more advanced and it's advancing faster and faster. I think business readiness and business appetite has also changed. I think businesses are more ready for cloud technologies. They're more ready for trusting technology, using technology more. So moving their financial capabilities online, putting more data into the cloud, and therefore trying to get more business value out of the technologies. I think specifically, I'm not sure. I think in the ERP space, the obvious one for me is each ERP trying to be able to be everything, kind of, to maybe some of them specialize. We're HR, we're finance, we're a payroll. Okay, fine. But I think the more joined together it can be, the better value it offers the client. And I think clients would prefer if there's one ERP to rule them all. So I think that's where that is a part of a direction. I think that it'll go, where an ERP builds capability to offer that, or builds. I think they all have partnerships with other ERPs to complement themselves, but I think stronger capabilities there. So there's more of a seamless
integrations.
Yeah, well, I would need integrations or whatever it is, a kind of like, again, within Workday, there's a Workday Extend capability, which you're able to build a visual within Workday that can pull data from other systems, and you Prism and other things. So it's an ability for a more seamless connection between your back office operations. I think if we're specific on back office, I think HR, finance, payroll, IT, learning, recruitment. For a company to be successful, we need all of these to be as closely aligned as possible.
Yeah.
And I think we can have unique use cases for why we would want a different system, but I think we need a way for it to be more seamless in how they work together, and not have these trade-offs of, are we integrating or are we manual entry, or some of the capabilities isn't really fit for purpose. I think that's where I'd like to see it go. I'd like to see the ERPs, not necessarily one ERP to rule them all, but just a way to deliver a more connected service operation for the business.
You could say that there are ERPs out there that already do have the whole space, right? But but they're perhaps not
specialist enough,
leading ones.
Yes.
And one of them is we both know who I'm talking about here, right? And certainly their biggest competitor would be absolutely right up there, but maybe they're not the best in the HR payroll world. So that's why you don't get one ERP.
Yes.
But yeah, absolutely. And before we close off, Simon, what would you say to younger people? You're so young.
I'm so young.
Younger people than both of us that are looking to get into the Workday world and perhaps looking to take the technical route. What would be your one bit of advice?
I think take the time to learn the foundations at the start. I think people who I've coached through Workday training, I've tried to stress, or I've tried to guide them or mentor them if they didn't already have the kind of foundations of what is web development, what is database development. These skill sets, you're not going to use it directly with Workday, because Workday has, or a different ERP has, it's kind of cloud-based, and it's more, you're more abstracted from it. But I think it's important to understand those concepts, so then you can relate it to your technical role with that tool. And then if I can give a second one, I guess during that process, be open to learn, be aware of where your strengths are, but also be open to learn different areas, and understand that to be successful, you need you need to work with the process team, the data team, the functional team, and they all need to come together, and the change team and testing to be successful. So the more you understand what they do and what they want from you, I think the better you'll be. And try have balance, and try enjoy the try and at least go on holidays. Don't bring your phone, and enjoy the journey.
No, do bring your phone, because someone might need it. And if this off, then no, thank you. It's been amazing.
No, it's been great.
Thank you.
I got you a little gift for having me on. Thanks for having me. Hopefully you haven't got it already.
Look at this, guys. Look.
It was something to go with your
Simon.
with your mindset moments.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I can't. Here's the time, right? I can't see it. So, how much more intelligent do I look with these on?
Significantly.
Would you hire me on one of your projects as a techie?
Depends what we needed. A bouncer maybe.
A bouncer. Yeah, it'd be good security for the system, wouldn't it? Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much.